Hi, so today I'm going to be doing a little teach me presentation on the muscles of the face and the neck. So I'm going to be teaching you basically what these muscles do on your face and your neck, sort of where they are, where they originate, where they would insert. Again, origin is where it wouldn't move, insertion is where it does move, and obviously action. And I used my little brother for some of the examples because who doesn't love kids? And I wanted to make this a little bit less boring for you guys. So I hope this is a little bit helpful. Maybe you could take away something from this. We'll see. But we're going to start with, of course, the frontalis. This one is going to originate on the Galea aponeurotica. That one's a hard name for me to say, but that's how I remember it for some reason. For some reason, the more complicated names are the most memorable, and because no other muscle originates there. So it's its own unique thing. And here's a little picture of my little brother, two little pictures of my little brother. This one on the left is him raising his eyebrows, which would be the action of this muscle. And this is also him like furrowing his eyebrows because he's able to move his eyebrows due to the frontalis. So it's going to originate on the Galea aponeurotica and is going to insert into obviously the skin of the eyebrow, which allows it to raise. Now we're going to talk about the orbicularis oculi. I think of oculi, which is like the eye ocular area, because there's also going to be an orbicularis oris, which is in the mouth area. So you don't want to get these confused. So look at the second word and determine which one is which so you don't get that mixed up. So this is him attempting to squint his eyes. It's kind of a fail, but it's the best that I could get. And this is another picture of him closing his eyes. So obviously you can see what the action is. But this one is going to originate on the not only the frontal bone but also the maxillary bone. And that's obviously going to insert into the eyelids, which allow the eyelids to move. They allow the eyelids to close. They allow your eyes to squint. That's how blinking and squinting happens. And yeah, this is his best attempt at doing these actions. I mean, you can't really blame him. He's only 8 years old. Anyways, this is the orbicularis oris. Think of oris as oral. That's the best way I can tell you to not confuse them. I also think of this muscle as the kissy face muscle. You could see he's protruding his lips, he's closing his lips, and he's also protruding them at the same time, which makes the kissy face or the duck face, whatever you want to call it. Um, it's going to originate and insert encircling the mouth. That's literally all you need to know. It encircles the mouth and it lets you make a little ducky face. This one is the most fun muscle, I think. And now we have the Rhizorius, which kind of sounds like a dinosaur name, but it's not. I think of the R I and S as risa, which is smile, but this is not just the smiling muscle, this is the fake smiling muscle, which means, as you can see in this picture, his corners of his mouth are moving, they moved in the lateral direction instead of the medial direction of the mouth, which allows this little blank kind of smiley-ish face, but it's not a real smile, it's just kind of like a little grin. It's going to originate in the fascia of the cheek and it's going to insert into obviously the corners of the mouth, which allow them to move in that direction. But the muscle that allows you to kind of achieve a more genuine smile would be the Zygomaticus. His cute little smile. This is the best picture I could get of him. He was tired. Anyways, he is moving the corners of his mouth upward, which the scientific term is literally elevating the corners of the mouth to create that appearance of a smile. The insertion is also obviously the corners of the mouth, but this one is going to originate on, you could probably guess, the zygomatic bone because it starts with the zygomatic in the word. Is the zygomaticus, and this one's very self-explanatory, but this one you can also think of, if you can't seem to remember, you can think of it as the genuine smiling muscle. That's how I think of it. That's how I first thought of it when I was trying to memorize all of these muscles and what they do. And next we have the platysma. Not sure if that's how you say it, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. This one is not the greatest example. I told him to tense the skin of his neck, which is the action of this muscle, but I don't think he knows how to use it. But you can kind of see what he's trying to achieve. You can tell that it originates in the chest fascia. No other muscle is going to do that other than the platysma. And it's going to go all the way up into the lower margin of his mandible. And that gives him the ability to do whatever the heck he's doing. He's supposed to be tensing the skin of his neck to make himself look a bit more intimidating, but I think it just looks a little bit funny. But the humor in it makes me remember what the action is. And now we're gonna move on to the mastication. I'm not gonna use the kids as an example anymore because I'm not going to show them eating. That would be weird. Anyways, these are the muscles that elevate the mandible, which means these are the muscles that allow you to close your jaw. On the left would be the masseter in the green. You could also see the temporalis right here, but it's not the highlighted one. In this picture, the temporalis is highlighted, but we're going to talk about the masseter first. The masseter is going to originate right under the zygomatic bone. It's an area called the zygomatic arch, and it's going to go all the way down into the ramus of the mandible, which we learned in lab exam 1. We learned a little bit about that, of these bone structures. It's going to insert into the ramus, and it's going to obviously give you the ability to elevate your mandible, which means to close your jaw, which is very important when you're trying to chew. Also, mastication. I think of mastica because I speak Spanish. Mastica means to chew, and that's how you can remember what these muscles would help with. Going to the temporalis, it's highlighted right here in green on the right image. So this one is obviously, one of the origins would be the temporal bone, but it's obviously in the name. But it's also going to originate on the parietal bones of the skull, which is not going to be an obvious one, but at least you get half of it in this. And then it's going to insert into this little area called the coronoid process of the mandible. Not to be confused with the coracoid process, that would be only on the scapula, obviously. So coronoid would be the mandible. And it's the same exact action as the masseter. It closes the jaw. In better terms, it elevates the mandible, which allows you to chew, masticate. Now we're going to be talking more about swallowing your food a little bit. So the first muscle that we're going to discuss here is the one highlighted. So I was having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I am going to just go right into the digastric. It's going to be the green highlighted thing right here. It's obviously labeled and everything, but this one is going to originate on the mastoid process of the temporal bone, and this one you kind of have to study and study and study. Active recall really helps to kind of remember where it is, because there's no way otherwise to determine, especially not in this picture. But it's going to insert into the mandible via this blue thing, which is called the hyoid bone, if you want to be a little bit more specific. But basically what this is going to do is it's going to depress the mandible, which means to lower your jaw, and it's going to elevate the hyoid, which is going to assist in swallowing the food that you are consuming. And now with the mylohyoid, it's right next to it. It's right next to the digastric. This one is going to originate actually on the mandible, because mylo means mandible and hyoid is hyoid bone, so it's obviously going to insert on the hyoid bone, but specifically the midline of the hyoid bone, not anywhere else on the hyoid bone. And this doesn't allow the hyoid to do anything really. It allows you to elevate the floor of your mouth, which is also very helpful in consumption. And now we're going to go to the sternohyoid, which is this pink thing right here. And as you can see, cat anatomy and human anatomy is very, very similar. They look pretty much the same in these two images. These are the sternohyoids of the cat and the human. Sterno obviously is sternum. It's going to originate on the manubrium of the sternum, and it's going to insert into the hyoid bone. And this one is going to depress the hyoid, which is like another part of swallowing, consumption, whatever you want to call it. And the last one we have right here is called the sternocleidomastoid. Sternum, cleido, clavicle, mastoid process of the temporal bone. So it's going to originate on the sternum, but the manubrium of the sternum and the clavicle, and it's going to go all the way up here and insert into the mastoid process of the temporal bone. And its action is actually to flex and rotate your neck, which has nothing to do with consumption, but it is still a muscle of the neck. So this is going to be included, and it's kind of more unique. And it's a little bit harder to find in cats, but they definitely have one. Cats have most of the same muscles that humans have. But I hope this was a little bit helpful. I hope you liked seeing my little brother's cute faces that he makes. I hope it gave good examples. I hope you could take away something from this. Thank you.